was introduced to myself through borrowed definitions, through carefully inherited expectations, through a silence that felt older than memory. A voice kept asking, who are you without the echo? Who are you without the performance? I did not answer. I dissolved. I have worn 100 versions, each one convincing, each one incomplete. Every certainty expired inside my hands. I memorized approval, spoken fluent adaptation, shaped my edges into symmetry, until I could not feel where I began. There is a fracture beneath my confidence, a quiet tremor under practiced strength. Two currents moving through one body, one reaching outward, one pulling me inward. If I peel away the applause, if I mute expectation, if I stand without translation, will anything remain? I am not the name they gave me, not the outline they contain. I am something unassembled, breathing underneath the frame. There is more than one horizon, living underneath my skin. Every contradiction is a place I have been. I am fracture and foundation, I am question and reply, I am every silent version I was taught to deny. Independence tastes like distance, distance feels like relief, relief dissolves into longing, longing becomes belief. I have feared my own reflection when it would not comply with the polished expectation of a simplified reply. Tenderness feels dangerous when strength becomes disguise. Vulnerability trembles behind deliberate poise. I have carried inattention no language could define, a fragile kind of bravery that refuses to align. If I step into uncertainty, if I honor the divide, if I let the mask devotion fall away from either side, will I shatter into nothing or expand into the wide? I am not the name they gave me, not the outline they contain. I am something self-created through the beauty of the strain. There is a tremor in closeness, a delicate unrest, where longing does not shout, it barely confesses. I move toward you without armor, without practiced indifference. Every guarded instinct loosens under unnamed influence. This nearness is not possession, it is exposure, a quiet agreement to be seen without defense. I am not afraid of distance, I am afraid of depth, of what survives the moment when nothing is left unsaid. Touch me where language fractures, where certainty dissolves. Hold the part of me that hesitation never solves. There is a thin line between us, soft as an open vein. If you lean any closer, you will feel my hidden ache. Fragile is not weakness, it is honesty revealed. If you stay inside this silence, you will know how I feel. Intimacy is not fire, it is temperature rising, it is breath adjusting without realizing. It is the courage to tremble without retreat, the willingness to unravel at someone else's heartbeat. I have mastered composure, I have performed control, but your presence unsettles every rehearsed role. I am not afraid of breaking, I am afraid of concealment, of surviving connection without full involvement. Touch me where language fractures, where certainty dissolves. Hold the part of me that hesitation never solves. There is a thin line between us, soft as an open vein. If you lean any closer, you will feel my hidden ache. Fragile is not weakness, it is honesty revealed. If you stay inside this silence, you will know how I feel. Do not worship my strength, it was built for survival. See instead the unsteady, the almost arrival. There is a softness beneath resolve, a pulse beneath restraint. If you trace it carefully, you will sense what I cannot paint. I wanna be discovered, not admired from afar. I want the unfiltered moment where defenses fall apart. If you leave, take nothing polished, take the trembling truth instead. Take the version of me that never learned to pretend. Touch me where language fractures, where the guarded disappear. Hold the quiet contradiction between desire and fear. Here is a living tension balanced in the air. Every fragile confession is a risk I choose to share. Fragile is sacred, it is trust made real. If you remain without armor, you will know how I feel. You will know how I feel. You will know how I feel. There is a sweetness in surrender, not defeat but quiet collapse. When resistance loses language and strength loosens its grasp. I try to hold perfection like it could make me began expanding through every flawless shape. Control was an illusion, dressed as discipline. I built a careful structure, no chaos could enter in. But something underneath it was asking to be freed. A pulse that would not soften, a hunger I could not lead. Let it fall apart inside me, let the symmetry break. I am more than preservation, more than what I fake. Every shattered expectation, open space to breathe. There is beauty in the breaking, there is truth beneath. If I crumble without hiding, if I loosen the design, I will find the deeper version I was scared to call mine. I confuse silence for balance, stillness for control. But underneath composure was an unprotected soul. I feared my own intensity, its hunger, its demand. So I kept it in containment with a steady hand. Yet the pressure kept expanding under practice grace. Every polished reassurance started to erase. What if fracture is expansion? What if loss reveals that identity is formed by what it never seals? Let it fall apart inside me, let the symmetry break. I am more than preservation, more than what I fake. Every shattered expectation, open space to breathe. There is beauty in the breaking, there is truth beneath. If I crumble without hiding, if I loosen the design, I will find the deeper version I was scared to call mine. I am not destruction, I am transformation, not an ending, but a revelation. The collapse is not an absence, it is structure rearranged. Every boundary dissolving is perspective being changed. I feel the fear dissolving, I feel expansion bloom. What looked like devastation was making room. No more polished imitation, no more careful disguise. I am worthy of emergence, even through the cries. Let it fall apart inside me, let the symmetry break. I am stronger in the fracture than in every mistake. Every shattered expectation turns to open sky. There is beauty in surrender when I let it die. If I crumble without hiding, if I loosen the design, I become the truest version I have ever called mine. Beautiful ruin, sacred release out of disorder. I become peace. I did not expect this feeling. It arrived without warning. Not loud enough to confess, not quiet enough to ignore. It lives in comparison. In the space between attention, in the subtle shift of focus that rewrites intention, I tell myself I am composed, I tell myself I understand. But something fragile tightens when your gaze does not land. It is not anger, it is not rage, it is a trembling awareness I cannot disengage. I am jealous of the silence that receives what I desire, jealous of the ease that sets your pulse on fire, jealous of the unseen current pulling you away from me. It is not possession, it is insecurity. I do not want to cage you, I do not want control. I want to feel sufficient in the center of your soul. Comparison is subtle, it speaks without a sound. It measures worth in glances and how long you stay around. I analyze the distance, I interpret every shift. Every pause becomes a question, every answer starts to drift. There is a story I am telling, where I am almost enough, where I compete with shadows and call the struggle love. It is not hatred, it is fear of becoming background when someone else is near. I am jealous of the silence that receives what I desire, jealous of the ease that sets your pulse on fire, jealous of the unseen current pulling you away from me. It is not possession, it is insecurity. I do not want to cage you, I do not want control. I want to feel unshaken in the center of your soul. I confess the contradiction, I want freedom and assurance. I want to be chosen without demanding endurance. There is a childlike trembling underneath my pride, a fear of being secondary I can no longer hide. If I say this out loud, does it weaken my stance, or does vulnerability give intimacy a chance? I am not threatened by another, I am threatened by myself, by the voice that counts affection like conditional wealth. I am jealous of the silence that receives what I desire, jealous of the effortless that lifts your voice higher, jealous of the subtle shift that makes my confidence bend. It is not accusation, it is the fear of the end. I do not want to cage you, I do not want control. I want to stand unwavering in the center of your soul, in the center of your soul. Jealousy is not destruction, it is longing uncontained. If I hold it without hiding, it transforms unnamed. There is a pattern in my longing, a rhythm I repeat. I gravitate to tension that never grants relief. I say I want serenity, I love that feels secure. Yet something in me trembles when the feeling is too pure. Stability feels distant, intensity feels real. I confuse unpredictability with something I can feel. Why does calmness make me restless? Why does chaos make me stay? Why do I call it passion when it slowly pulls away? I am addicted to the ache, to the almost and the break, to the promise that dissolves before it fully wakes. I chase the sharp sensation that devotion never gives. I say I want forever, but I crave what barely leaves. I know the cycle by heart, yet I enter it again. Addicted to the tension that disguises itself as love. I romanticize the distance, I glorify the doubt. I elevate the struggle until I cannot step out. Consistency feels foreign, like something I mistrust. So I sabotage the softness before it gathers dust. There is a hunger and uncertainty, keeps my pulse awake. A quiet fear of peacefulness that makes my foundation shake. If it does not feel dramatic, I question if it's true. If it does not bruise my certainty, I do not know what to do. I am addicted to the ache, to the almost and the break, to the fragile kind of closeness that no one else can take. I chase the sharp sensation that devotion never gives. I say I want forever, but I crave what barely leaves. I memorize the warning signs and call them destiny. Addicted to the tension that pretends to set me free. What if love is quiet? What if it does not burn? What if intensity is not the thing for which I yearn? What if peace is not emptiness, but something steady, slow? And I have been mistaking calm for letting go. There is fear inside stability, a mirror I avoid. If nothing is collapsing, I must face the void. Maybe I have worshipped the feeling of the fall, because falling feels like proof that I'm alive at all. I am addicted to the ache, to the cycle and the stake, to the restless expectation of another heartbreak. But I am learning to resist it, to redefine the spark. Maybe love is not explosion, maybe love is not the dark. I am loosening the pattern, I am stepping out of pain. No longer chasing tension just to feel something again. If peace feels unfamiliar, I will let it stay. I am not my old addiction, I am learning a new way. I have measured my existence in invisible demands, in expectations spoken. I try to understand how much of me is worthy without constant proof. How much of me is valuable without visible truth? I learned to equate exhaustion with significance, to believe that effort was the only evidence. If I am not exceeding, if I am not ahead, does my presence still matter when ambition rests instead? Who am I without achievement, without applause to validate? If I pause inside the stillness, do I diminish or create? Am I enough without the striving, without the endless climb? Enough without the proving every second of the time? If I loosen expectation, if I let performance end, will I disappear into silence or finally transcend? I am tired of the measuring, of comparing breath to breathe, of defining all my value by the fear of falling short of it. There is a quiet desperation in perpetual ascent, a subtle self-erasure hidden in accomplishment. I have chased significance like oxygen in air, believing love was conditional on how much I could bear. The pressure feels familiar, like a language I can speak, but underneath the mastery there's something fragile, weak. Not weak in constitution, but gentle in its claim, a self that wants permission to exist without a name. If worth is not transactional, if presence is enough, why does rest feel dangerous? Why does softness feel too much? Am I enough without the striving, without the endless climb? Enough without the proving every second of the time? If I loosen expectation, if I let performance end, will I disappear into silence or finally transcend? I wanna stand uncalculated, unfiltered and unplanned, not reduced to my achievements, but accepted as I am. There is dignity in breathing without earning every space. There is power in existing without accelerating pace. If love is not a contract, if worth is not a race, then maybe I have always deserved my own embrace. No scoreboard, no comparison, no invisible demand, just a quiet affirmation that enough as I stand. I am enough without the striving, without the endless climb. Enough without the proving every second of the time. I release the need for measuring, I release the need to defend. I do not vanish in the stillness, I expand. I am enough in my becoming, enough in what I am. Not a product of achievement, not a number to exam. I am worthy in the breathing, in the silence, in the span. I am enough without condition. I am. There is a hesitation in my honesty, a reflex to reduce intensity. I soften truths before they land, edit emotion by my own hand. I know how to remain acceptable, how to be impressive but untouchable, to offer fragments safe and small, and never risk the depth at all. Exposure feels like standing still, without defense, without a shield, to let another recognize the unfiltered truth behind my eyes. If I remove the careful distance, if I release controlled resistance, will admiration turn to leave the moment they see all of me? I am afraid of being seen, not the surface but the in-between, the parts that do not always shine, the unraised shine, the unrefined, the undefined. If you look past confidence, past articulate pretense, will you stay when you perceive the fragile core beneath the sheen? It is easier to be desired for curated strength and fire, harder to remain in place when someone witnesses my break. I have performed in vulnerability with practiced credibility, but underneath composure lies a trembling sensitivity. To be fully known is dangerous. There is no revision there, no strategic presentation, no control repair. If I let you read the silence, if I drop the measured tone, will connection deepen or will I stand alone? I am afraid of being seen, not the surface but the in-between, the contradictions I conceal, the shifting way I truly feel. If you see beyond control into the unguarded soul, will you stay without retreat when illusion meets defeat? Do not applaud my independence if it hides my need for closeness. Do not praise my self-sufficiency if it masks my fear of notice. There is courage in transparency, in letting imperfection breathe, in trusting that authenticity will not make someone leave. Maybe being truly chosen requires being truly known. Maybe love is not protection, but exposure overthrown. I am no longer afraid of being seen, of the uncertain in-between, of every flaw and every seam that makes me human, makes me live, makes me real. If you look without ideal, if you stay beyond appeal, you'll find beneath the guard a heart that chose to heal. Seen without distortion, seen without disguise. I am more than presentation. I am truth without compromise. I built my calm on calculation, on predicting every turn, mapped reactions in advance, so nothing unexpected burns. I studied every if I held it tight, nothing would drift. I translated every feeling into something I could steer. Redefined uncertainty as something to engineer. If I anticipate the fracture, if I monitor it tight, then nothing can destabilize the structure I designed. But tension lives in management and never letting go, and gripping every moment, afraid of not enough. Control is a lie I tell myself to quiet what I fear. A fragile imitation of certainty held near. I tighten every boundary, I script what love should be. But the more I try to master it, the less it feels like me. Control is a silent bargain between anxiety and pride. It promises me safety while keeping truth outside. Perfection is a strategy to never feel exposed. If nothing is spontaneous, nothing can implode. I call it independence, I call it self-command. But underneath the posture is a trembling hand. I measure tone and timing, I calculate each pause. I edit my reactions before they find a cause. Believing if I manage it, if I restrict the flow, I will not have to face what I cannot know. But life resists containment, it slips between the lines. The more I try to hold it, the more it redefines. Control is a lie I carry like a shield against the unknown. With the cost of constant management is living overthrown. If I loosen expectation, if I let the current be, I might find within the chaos a deeper stability. Control is not protection, it is fear refined. I release the need to hold it and finally breathe unconfined. It is not the ending that undoes me, not the final word, not the shift in tone. It is the quiet recalibration of identity alone. I did not just lose affection, I lost who I became. In the presence of connection, in the echo of your name, there was a version of myself that only lived with you. Now I search the silence for something that feels true. When attachment rearranges and intimacy dissolves, the heart unconscious fracture. It forgets how it evolved. This is the loneliness after love, not the absence but the space where shared reflection disappears and I confront my own face. It is waking without resonance, without the mirror tone, learning how to occupy a self that stands alone. It is not missing your touch, it is missing who I was when my edges felt aligned inside the shape of us. Underestimated merging, how deeply it can blend to emotional languages until they almost end. I borrowed certain softness, you borrowed certain strength. We stretched each other's boundaries beyond familiar length. Now separation feels like emotional withdrawal, like losing shared direction and rebuilding from the fall. I do not grieve the fantasy, I grieve the shared design, the way my inner narrative entwined itself with thine. This is the loneliness after love, not dramatic, not loud. It is the slow untangling of what we both allowed. It is sitting with reflection without distortion near, reclaiming every fragment of what was once unclear. It is not the loss of presence, it is learning to redefine the parts of me that flourished when your pulse aligned with mine. I am rediscovering what belongs to me, which tenderness was chosen, which dependency was free. There is strength in separation, though it trembles at the start. Autonomy returning to an unaccompanied heart. I can honor what we had without erasing who I am. I can grieve without collapsing, I can stand without a plan. This is the loneliness after love, the necessary space where borrowed definitions fade and selfhood takes their place. It is painful and revealing, it is empty and aware, but inside this quiet distance I am learning how to care, not for what is gone, not for what we were, but for the independent voice that is finally secure. Loneliness after love is not the end of me, it is the slow reintroduction to my own identity. I waited for approval, for a signal to begin, for confirmation from the outside to justify within. I shape myself in fragments according to demand, Believing transformation required a guiding hand. I hesitated at expansion, afraid to outgrow roles, afraid that self-evolution would cost familiar souls. So I remain in moderation, in acceptable degrees, careful not to threaten inherited boundaries. But growth does not ask gently, it rises from inside, an uncontainable momentum I can no longer hide. I am becoming without permission, without consensus or applause, without negotiated vision, without inherited laws. I do not need an invitation to inhabit who I am. I will not shrink my evolution to fit a narrower plan. Becoming is not rebellion, it is alignment deep within, a reclamation of direction where hesitation used to live. There is this comfort in expansion, in watching old skins fall, and recognizing former versions no longer fit at all. Some will call it distance, some will call it pride, but growth is often mistaken for leaving things behind. I am not abandoning, I am refining form, releasing what was temporary to welcome what is born. The unfamiliar feeling of standing uncontained is not instability, it is identity reclaimed. I cannot stay diminished for the comfort of the past. Transformation is a current, moving fast. I am becoming without permission, without consensus or applause, without negotiated vision, without inherited laws. I do not need an invitation to inhabit who I am. I will not shrink my evolution to fit a narrower plan. Becoming is not rebellion, it is alignment deep within, a reclamation of direction where hesitation used to live. I release the silent contracts, I release the need to please, I release the subtle pressure to remain who I used to be. There is courage in divergence, in choosing not to stay where comfort asks for compromise and growth demands a way. No more waiting, no more pause, no more asking for a cause. I am becoming without permission, unfiltered and aware, without reducing my ambition to make it easier to bear. I claim the full expansion of everything I am, unapologetic movement beyond a smaller plan. Becoming without permission is not defiance loud, it is quiet resolution unbowed. I am becoming